Hello, everybody. Kathy Caprino here, and welcome to another episode of Finding Brave. We are recording now, right after Labor Day, and I think you're hearing this in a few weeks from that. But I gotta say, I love those 3-day weekends. And I was thinking about this walking my dog. Why do I love them when I run my own business and I can make any weekend a 3-day weekend? I think I love it because a lot of my friends don't run their own businesses and they can't take Friday or Monday off. So it was so fun catching up with friends and beach and swimming and tennis. So I hope you had a wonderful time. I know it's 2 weeks out, but I'm still thinking about it, and I hope you will too. And today I'm so excited to have our amazing, beautiful guest, Cindy McGovern. And didn't we just meet Cindy maybe just a month ago, or
About a month ago.
in our wonderful author group, right? Which
Yes. Oh,
speaking of
powerful, powerful
speaking of
ladies.
connection and support and generosity, it's a great group. I'm so thrilled to have met you there. And we are talking about, let's get this title right, the fatal assumption that entrepreneurs and business owners make that kills their growth. I bet you're going, okay, what is this? Because you probably run your own business or your own venture. And I think, Cindy, we're talking about small ventures, large, you've worked with some gigantic ones, and everything in between. And I know you have some nuances to share about kind of the difference. And I just want everyone to know you have so much going on, including a new book. Yay! So let me tell everybody about Cindy. Dr. Cindy, as she is known, Cindy McGovern, is the First Lady of Sales and holds a doctorate degree in organizational communication, and a master's degree in marketing. She earned her reputation by building and rebuilding entire sales programs from the bottom up. Gosh, I've got a lot to learn from you. Dr. Cindy, who's CEO of Orange Leaf Consulting, has helped hundreds of companies and individuals around the world, from small to huge, create dramatic and sustainable revenue growth. And you have authored this new book, Every Job is a Sales Job, How to Use the Art of Selling to Win at Work. I love it. And again, we're going to tell you all about where you can learn more. And I'm sure there's free downloads and awesome, wonderful things. Congratulations on writing and launching a book, Cindy. I know it's massive. And I'm so happy you're here.
I am so grateful to be here, Kathy, and it is massive, and you know exactly where I am. We launch on the 17th of September, and so you know right where we're at. We're right in the thick of it all.
Oh my gosh. You just get through it, and there's joy in it and excitement, but there's exhaustion and burnout a little bit, right? It's not all what do you call it, a walk in the park. It's work, but
Yeah.
but it is like birthing a baby, I feel. With my first book, Breakdown Breakthrough, I'm not kidding. I like laid it on the end table next to my bed as if it were like a bassinet, like a
Yeah.
baby. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to let it go. I was like, this is my baby. Do you feel like that? Or
I
are you like,
do. No, it's so funny because even within the edits with my publisher and everything, it was like they're having to pull it out of my hands, because I'm thinking, oh, just one more edit, just one more run, just one more look. And it was just crazy. And you know how that feels is you've read
oh,
it 1,000 times by the time you get to that point. But I am waiting for that moment to open the box of books.
oh,
And I cannot wait to be
so
able to see
excited
them
for you.
in print and
Oh,
hold it in my hands, hold my baby in my hands.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. And I just want to say that's the one thing. I just finished the manuscript. You're with McGraw-Hill, how amazing. I'm with HarperCollins Leadership. And just the first time of handing the manuscript in, I wonder if you feel this way. You feel like, I hope I didn't miss anything essential. But to cover everything you'd need in, encyclopedia of books on sales, you'd have to write that, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
we try our best in whatever 1,000 words. Mine will be around 60,000. You try your best to cover the most important topics, but we've got to let it go at some point and pray that people will get exactly what they need, which is what we're going to do in 30 minutes, right?
Yay! Well, I'm hoping so. I really want this book to help people to be able to get what they want. And it is hard to decide what stays and what goes. And I'm so grateful for my amazing editor at McGraw-Hill and just the folks that have been helping to guide me through the process. Because as you know, I think all the ideas should go in there, right?
Yeah. I mean, they
We want all of them
say
to
we
fit.
have to kill our babies. I think film editors say that they're our babies. Like, I can't not have this story that elucidates everything. They're like, no, cut.
Yeah.
And thank goodness, because we can't, right? Oh, I'm so excited for you. All right, now let's start with, we're talking about, well, you tell us, what is this fatal assumption, Cindy? What are we doing wrong as small business owners or large business owners? What is it? What do we
We're
have to
not
learn?
selling. We're actually not selling. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes. And I know that sounds crazy because you're going, but we have advertisements, we have this, we have that. You have to sell it. And every job within your organization truly is a sales job. And if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, you got to be selling half the time. I mean, you are both artist, CEO, and sales. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they assume their talent will speak for itself, or they assume the product speaks for itself. Well, I hate to tell you, but I'm here to tell everyone it's not speaking loud enough. And so I think we have to embrace sales and know that we have a responsibility to do that on a regular basis as well.
So let's just dig in here. I'm sure these entrepreneurs, and I run my own small business, you do too, consulting business, we think we're selling. I think people are saying, what does she mean? I'm selling. Can you even help us differentiate? What's the biggest mistake we are making? They think they're selling. So what are they not doing?
So here's one thing that I just like to point out, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
If your friends and family are not walking advertisements for who you are and what you do and can explain it the way you want it explained, you're not selling. And it's because so often our own families don't know the ins and outs. Well, they're your best commercial. They're your best advocates. If they can't explain it in a way that really tells that meaningful story, we're not selling. And I think a lot of times we assume, if you're a coach, you're doing a good job, your clients like you, that doesn't mean they're going to go tell 5 of their business friends. That doesn't mean anything. It means they like you. You have one satisfied customer, yay you. That's not sales. Sales is talking to people who don't currently work with you, reaching out to people who are outside of that network. Sales is new dollars from new people or new dollars from your existing clients. And you have to be seeking that on a regular basis. And I think we get caught up in operational stuff. We get caught up in the work itself. We work very much in our business, not on our business. And I think sales is on your business, is working on your business and being intentional about it.
So you quote, I think, Michael Gerber in his E-Myth Revisited. I love Michael Gerber. And the first time, so I'm talking about his book, The E-Myth Revisited, but he's got series of programs and books. And the first time I read it must have been, so I've been doing this 14 years, must have been 12, 13, 11 years ago. And I kind of threw it across the room. I thought, God, this is dry. And he talks about, look at your business as if it were going to be a franchise, that you are going to have to create operational methodologies that someone else could do. And the other piece he talks about, which I want to tease out with you, is don't make that mistake of thinking because you like to bake, graphic design, coach, speak, that you love running a business doing it, or that they're the same. And this is what I see over and over when people come to me, they want to start a practice or a coaching business or consulting business. They actually cannot stand the aspect of everywhere I go, I need to be talking about what I'm doing. And so does everyone else. So can you go back to, if your family doesn't know how to do it, I see 2 aspects of that. Tell me if I'm getting it right. Some of it is they don't know how to sell it and speak about it because you don't know how to sell it and speak about it.
100%.
And the second piece is you're not asking for advocates. You're not being incredibly clear. Like with your book, I'm sure you have a lot of blurbs that illustrious people have written. Most of them will say, tell me what to write. Tell me what to write and I'll make it my own, but just tell me what to write. And so a lot of people won't give you recommendations, right? If they'll say, I don't know how to write this. So tell me, am I on the right track? Or those are the 2 pieces that we're not doing well enough?
Yes. And I think there's a huge piece that even comes before that, Kathy, which is the entrepreneur, the business owner, or the leadership doesn't plan for growth and doesn't plan for sales. And that's part of the planning phase, is knowing your story and knowing how you want to be known, what differentiates you from everybody else. I mean, I live in San Francisco. You can, turn around and knock out 3 graphic designers, right? It's like they're everywhere.
Wow.
So what makes one better than another? What makes one stand out? And if you're truly going to be that, anything with the gig economy in particular these days,
Right.
Who are you? Why do you matter? What do you bring to the table that's different than everybody else? If you can't tell me, then I can't send you referrals.
Right.
And I think that's the piece. But so often we plan for what the deliverable is going to be. We plan for the fact that, oh, well, I know this, program inside and out, or I'm a good coach and I really help people, or whatever it is. We don't plan for the business side. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And if you don't plan for the business side, then you're not planning to sell.
So there's so much we're talking about. You're talking about the story that you tell. And, I'm on LinkedIn every day with a new client, and we're going through their profile. And I'll say, all right, I know more about you in 5 minutes than you want me to know about you, given how you're not showing up here. I have no idea. Do you find that, it's all the same, I think. It's copywriting, really. But I find that people will say, I'm dedicated to, animal safety, but they don't say how they're doing that. They don't talk about the outcomes that they are passionate about and how they would measure that and how they affect that. Is that
Mhm.
part of the sales process? Break that down for us, Cindy, would you?
Yes, and it absolutely is, because it's not what you do, it's how what you do affects the other person. Nobody cares really about what you do. Nobody cares that you're a graphic designer. What I care about is that you're a graphic designer that can actually do something in 24 hours and send it back to me.
Wow.
And that it's going to be, unlimited proof, or, it's going to be ready in 3 days, whatever it is that's your differentiator. And I think when
Mm,
you're looking at yourself as a business leader, part of the other problem is that that message tends to stop at the C-suite. Everybody up there knows the mission. Everybody up there knows the vision. Everybody up there might know the values. Is it trickling down through your organization? And so much of the work that we do with our clients is helping them to turn their organization into a sales organization. I truly believe every job is a sales job. I absolutely believe it. That's why I called the book that,
wow.
because I honestly believe it. But I think with entrepreneurs or business owners or managers, we have the idea in our heads. We're not entirely sure how to bring it to every person, so they are all walking advertisements as well. And it's the same thing with our families. If we can't even explain it to our employees, how the heck do we expect our cousin to be able to tell that story? And I think
Wow.
it's where we fall down a lot. But it is planning. I cannot stress that enough, Kathy. It is the lack of planning, because I think people have such amazing ideas, and especially entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, there's that fire in the belly. You just want to go do whatever your gift is for the world. And I think it's amazing. But you must plan for what you want this business to look like so that you can do it on purpose. And if
I
you
love
don't,
it.
you
I
know,
love it. I want to, I always love to learn right there on the spot about my business through my guests. So I'm going to ask you a question that I'm thinking other people in my shoes might be asking. Do you see this as one of the problems? Oh, there's so many things I want to ask you. First of all, let's put this one on hold, but I want to make sure I ask it. The leaders that I see, even very high level, illustrious C-suite people, I don't think sometimes they know what the real mission is they should be talking about. Why? Because they're not, how do we put it? Maybe they're
connected.
not, yeah, connected or storytellers or understand what people need. They got there because they're good CEOs in managing and executing progress.
Yeah,
But that doesn't make them a good salesperson
not at all.
or understand what's required. So, do you ever get to the level where you're dealing with the C suite and they don't have any idea what you're talking about?
So a lot of times the way that we work is we go in and we want to help organizations to be able to stand on their own without us. We're kind of this weird unconsulting company, right? And so
I love it. I
and
love
we
it.
fix it, and we teach you how to do it on your own. So a lot of our work is with the C-suite or the owner of the organization. And part of it is helping them to dig deeper and remember why they started this business in the first place, or why this company exists. If you stepped into the C-suite because you worked your way up as a janitor or you worked your way up as a receptionist, it's the fact that you're there now and you get to tell how you want to be known in the world. And I think storytelling is a bit of a lost art. I really do.
I do
And
too.
I think
I do too.
part of it is you need to know what your special gifts are that you're bringing, and then everybody needs to understand how those affect the customer. So I work a lot in insurance, and
Mm.
insurance is not terribly sexy for the most part.
Right, right. It's really a must have, not a want to have, right?
It is. But what's interesting is I try to help people to own their story.
Mm.
about what they do in their interaction with their clients, because that's what matters. I can get insurance kind of anywhere. There's only so many carriers, but it's how they own their story about what they bring to the table as the individual. And I think especially for solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, it's remembering what you're bringing. What are your gifts? What are my friend calls them superpowers to the
Mm.
world, and how it's actually making a difference in everybody else's lives. And that's the
Oh,
story to hold on to. That's the story you want to sell. You don't want to sell insurance. You want to sell what it does for you.
I love that. I mean, I find that when I give a talk, I always start with why I'm standing on this stage in front of you. And it's not an easy story to hear. It was a rough corporate life in a lot of ways. And then I see people's eyes go from, oh God, here we go with the speaker, to their eyes just get big and they're riveted, because it's a story that in some way they can relate to. It's universal yet specific. It's compelling yet different enough. I hope that that's what story does. But let me go back to the planning piece. Can I?
Yeah.
So I'm about to launch another course, and I've had a course for 6 years. And one thing I realize I'm not good at, and it involves, I think, sales and differentiation. Sometimes I'm so into and close to what I'm delivering that if you ask me, well, how is that different from the other course? I'm annoyed. I'm like, well, what can't you get? Like, look at the description.
Obviously, yeah.
Or, I remember when my agent, who also serves as a great editor, was looking at my first draft of a manuscript, and I had said, I coined the term perfectionistic over functioning when we're doing, I mean, it's so obvious to me when we're
Yep.
doing more than is appropriate, healthy, and necessary, and trying to get an A+ in all of it. And she said, can you describe that in other terms? And, I told her, that's annoying to me. What other terms do we need? But it's important that you aren't so deep in the weeds of what you do, that you keep using language that you get, but you need to describe it. Is that part of the sales process that you deal with, that people almost don't know how to talk about it in a fresh way because they're so close to it?
I think that's a huge piece of it, especially for the creative entrepreneur,
Mm.
where it's sort of an innate gift that they have. And even some coaches have this, where it's, you just were good at giving advice. You just knew this inherently. You have such amazing intuition. It's really hard for you to then tap in and be able to tell that story in a different way. And I see this with a lot of my
Wow.
creative friends, my artist friends, actors, singers, and dancers. And it's funny because they just heard the beat in their head as a dancer. They just heard it. How do you
Heard the beat.
explain that to somebody who doesn't hear the beat?
Oh, wow. I think you nailed it. I think when someone is inherently talented or gifted at something, even number one, recognizing how brilliant that talent is, they don't, because, well, I don't know, didn't you have it since you were?
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. I can't dance like that or
Yeah.
sing like that. But also just describing it in words is hard. All right.
It is.
So can you talk about the planning piece? Give us 3 tips about, we're a small business, and you did want to differentiate for us when you're talking an entrepreneurial venture versus a big business. There are some differences you wanted to differentiate, right?
I do, and thank you. So I do think it's very different depending on how you plan. If you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, or if you're a big business, obviously you have different resources at your disposal. You have different time components at your disposal. But I think part of the place where all of them fall down is that lack of planning. And so it's one of my sort of wheelhouse things that I tend
Yeah,
to help clients with, my
taking
friends with. I mean,
notes.
I'm that girl. I'm the planner girl. Like, I'm her.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I started realizing how much planning could help me help others, I
Yeah.
got kind of addicted to it. And it was like,
Tell
oh,
us, what do we have to know? I can't wait to hear this.
so the first thing is you have to know truly what it is you're trying to accomplish. And it's not just about growing a business. That's not it. If that's it, your plan is wrong.
Oh, wow.
Because it's got to have a different impact. Everybody wants to grow a business. Yeah, and it's like the yeah, and okay, now what? What is the impact you're planning to leave on this earth? What is the message you want people telling about you or your company when you're not in the room? The thing I want people to say about us is that we grow business. We do, but we grow it by getting every single person involved in the sales effort. even the ones who think it's super icky, right?
Right,
And
right.
whether a company has a dedicated sales team or not, it doesn't matter to us. We believe that everyone can and does sell. So as a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, when you're planning, you have to identify who's going to be actually responsible for business development, who's responsible for sales. And you were talking about when you give a speech and you kind of set that tone in the room. One of the questions I like to ask of the room is, how many of you are salespeople? And I like to see how many hands, end up going up. And then I will pause and I'll say, I'm going to ask that one more time. How many of you are in sales? And then they kind of look at each other and
Oh.
then, they sort of inch up.
So
But
they're all in sales, but they don't see themselves as a salesperson?
no, because there's this horrible connotation of sales in our society. I mean, we all think of, I call him Johnny Two Thumbs. It's the used car salesman coming at you. Like
Oh,
everybody has that
gross.
distinction in their mind of, ooh, sales. I'm not talking about that kind of sales. That's not sales at all. That's manipulation. That's conning someone. What I'm talking about is telling your story, finding a need in another person, and seeing if you have something to satisfy that need. And if you do, fantastic, offer it. And if you don't, that's okay too. That's the sales that I'm talking about. So when you go back to the planning as the entrepreneur or the business owner or the manager, who do you want to be known as? What kind of sales do you want to do? Who is responsible for it? And if you can't pinpoint a person who is truly responsible for growth in your organization, I got news for you. It's you.
Oh, wow. You know what that makes me think? Tell me if I'm on track with this. Little tales out of school, but we're those of us who are running businesses, multiple six figures, are also looking at how other people are doing it. And there's a plethora of advice. And you know what a lot of people have told me, and I've seen a lot of people say passive income membership programs are the way to go, where you basically get a person in and you deliver something hopefully of value, and it keeps going, and let's say for a year, and it's passive, you're not showing up, and it's getting some great money, and everyone's like, that's the way to go, that's the way to go, that's the way to go. Well, I would love that to work, but that doesn't work for me as much as courses where it's committed and I'm training and I'm with you.
Mhm.
And I have, talking about planning, I was in the planning process of creating Close Your Power Gaps as a membership program. And just this weekend, I went, it's not how I want to be known in the world. And it isn't what I think works. What I think works for me in helping people transform is a curriculum that grows on each other and that I'm involved a little. And I think that part of planning is getting real with who you really are, what are your superpowers, and how you want to be known.
Mhm.
So yeah, membership would be great if I don't show up, and don't get me wrong, passive is great, but when you really feel you're doing what you're meant to do in the world. Does this
I,
resonate at all?
it absolutely resonates with me. So I'll share a little bit of my own story in that regard, because when I started this consulting company, it's now 10 years. And I had hired a strategist to come in, and I said, poke holes in this. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I was sort of that entrepreneur. I started at the bottom of the market. It was right during the recession, like
Ah,
everything. And I thought, okay, if I can make this float, I'm all right.
I'm
Maybe,
good.
but so I quit my job, started this. But what
Wow.
was funny in that moment is I had the strategist come in, and he was poking holes, and he was fabulous, by the way.
Hmm.
But his biggest criticism was I did not have a renewable revenue resource. I didn't have a passive income. He's like, well, you have to charge for the blog. You have to do this. It felt so inauthentic to me, Kathy. And I said, I can't do that. And he goes, well, you're going to have turnover upon turnover upon turnover of clients. I'm going, that's what I'm looking to do. That's
Right.
exactly what I want to do. That's the consulting firm I want to be. I don't want to be the consulting firm that sits in your boardroom for the next 2 years.
Ah,
That's not consulting. That's actually just outsourced labor,
and it's crippling to me. It's like when I hear someone's going to a therapist 5 times a week for years, I think, what is this person doing? And I don't think that's ethical, to be honest. I mean, I don't mean to cast aspersion, but it's not for me. I want to be in your life, briefly boost you like hell, and then you don't really need me anymore.
You're the training wheels. That's what we want to be.
Or you've gone to the next level and would like a little boost, but not the crippling thing that we have to be there for years and years.
I couldn't agree more. And it's funny because you and I are cut from the same cloth in that regard, I think, where we want to help people, we want to build them up. And I firmly believe my clients should outgrow me. You
Right.
should outgrow your coach. I mean, I have a skill set. I'm
100%.
human too. Let me give you everything I can. If you hit a plateau later, of course, come back. But it is that piece of saying, go. And that's what I wanted to do for
Interesting.
organizations, is empower them to create this culture so they can do this without me. And so, like, it's funny because the book was literally like a coaching call with me, is what one of my friends who read it said. She goes, I feel like I just had a coaching call with you. I'm like,
Oh,
good.
wonderful.
That was
And
the
so you're
point.
going one to many with this book,
Yeah.
that it's what I'm doing over and over. And I think that's a great reason to write a book. When you are saying and teaching the same things over and over, and so many people need it, it's time for a book or a course or whatever way you love to do it. I love that. I love it. I really am simpatico with you on that. So what else do we know about, oh, so can I get back to planning?
Yeah.
What do you think? So you're talking about, if you don't know how to have everyone in your organization be some form of an ambassador, one. Number two, if you have no one you can point your finger who is helping you advance sales, then it's you. Are there any other planning pieces that we're not thinking of, that you see over and over? Like, I can't believe you don't have this in place. What are they?
Yes. And this one is where the sales pros even fall down. It's the numbers. There
Oh,
is math in sales, and I cannot stress it enough.
it's so
There
true.
will be math and there will be spreadsheets. And even some of the most successful companies, when we go into them, we find that the number breakdown isn't tangible. It's sort of like there's these giant numbers at the top, that this is our top line, this is our bottom line. Well, there's a whole lot of stuff that happens in the middle there. So even salespeople don't always know their numbers for themselves. They
You
don't know
mean
it's
they're
called a sales.
forecasting we're going to have 40% growth, and where's the expenditure growth? How are you going to get there?
Yeah,
Is
but
that
even
what you see?
deeper. Yeah, but deeper than that even. So if you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur, and I would ask this question of all of your listeners, can you tell me with some degree of certainty how many prospective clients you have to talk to get one of them to buy from you? If
Mm,
you don't know the answer to that, you should. You
right.
should be tracking this. You should be looking at that, because that's going to help you work a whole lot smarter than having to sort of cast this giant net and go, okay, I'm going to go tell 10,000 people what I do. No, maybe you need to tell three, and you need to know what story you told them so that you can hone it in. If that's the story that's resonating, that's a story you tell more often then.
Wow.
And it's helping them to bring that in. But knowing those sales numbers is one of the biggest challenges. And again, this is where the sales pros fall down. So anybody that's listening that has a dedicated sales team, I would caution you, don't assume that because these are sales pros, and I'm talking pros 20 plus years in the biz, a lot of them don't know their numbers because that was the basics. That's what they did year one, year two. Well,
Mm,
now they kind of can wing it. It's like knowing a recipe, right? In the first couple times you make the recipe, you measure stuff. Well, you stop measuring 20 years in when you've been making the same sauce, you know?
wow.
So
Wow.
helping your team to know those, and that is another huge piece of planning that I think companies, individuals all fall down. And especially for your solopreneurs that are listening, entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, get to know your numbers,
Mm,
because it will help you to figure out who your best advocates are. And I have to share this quick story. I had a client
mm,
who, she was in insurance, believe it or not. It was kind of funny, but she shifted who she was going after for centers of influence and who she really wanted to hone in on. And she started honing in on this one particular population. It was CPAs, tripled her business
wow.
because we just looked at the math. All we did was look at the math.
Right.
And we started going, well, you're keeping tabs on these 7 people, but you're not really getting any good business from them. These 2 CPAs over here are the ones that are sending you everything that actually is decent money. Why don't we just start going after CPAs?
Wow.
Ta-da! Tripled her
So
business.
good. So good. And how do they do that? Is it through metrics? We do Facebook, what do you call them? Not widgets, where you're tracking who's coming to the site, all of those digital marketing, capabilities. What
Mhm.
other ways can people find that answer out? What else are they doing?
So I would actually define it as sales versus marketing. I would consider that marketing.
I see.
And I think it really is. And I think the terms get intertwined, right?
Right. Right.
Because it does take both. I'm talking about sales as person to person dialogue
Oh,
to
interesting.
bring business in, or
Person to
person to
person
person,
dialogue.
behavioral aspect of it. And it could be email, it could be voicemail, it can be those things,
Hmm.
video chats. But I think that's the part that gets mistaken, is because everybody says, oh, well, we're doing all these advertisements over here. We're doing, Facebook ads, we're doing ads on LinkedIn. That's great. And you can track them, and there are amazing metrics for that. But what are you doing on the people side?
Interesting.
I'm mostly interested on the people side of the
Wow.
business. I want to change people's behavior. And that's where, again, solopreneurs fall down. They think, oh, well, I have real estate agents. I got the
Interesting.
bulletin board. I advertise in the shopping cart. Okay, that's great. But do your friends and neighbors know that you're a realtor and that you're looking for more business? Do they know what kind of business you do? Do they know your specialty in neighborhoods? Making sure those folks know that. And once you have that plan, this is where the magic comes in. And it's actually step 2 that I talk about, which is looking for opportunities. Once you know what you're going after, you will see opportunities literally everywhere. And you know what I'm talking about.
I
As soon as
do.
you hone that story, you can hear a half of a conversation and go, I can help those folks.
Oh, you're so right. Can I offer a kind of a little secret sauce thing that I can't believe it's behavioral in terms of how I worked my funnel? Can I share it with you?
Yeah, please. Oh my gosh, I would love.
Because I cannot believe what happened overnight when I did this. So, my world is mostly mid to high level professional women who want more, different, and better in what they are doing. And that can be their business, it can be their career, their professional life. And I know that, and I have the avatar, and I have some great ways to find them, but there are better ways I could mine for that. But I think the funnel's working pretty well. But what I didn't do, Cindy, that just blows me away. I interviewed Jamie Masters, who's the eventual millionaire. Do you know Jamie?
I know.
She's so
I know
wonderful,
who she is.
and
Yeah.
she's so great. And she was on the podcast about how do we get to 1 million in sales, in revenue. But what I saw her do was, I had to go through this process to speak to her, is that she has an application. So before anyone speaks to anybody, you fill out the application, and she's dealing with people who want to be millionaires. So if you're I make $300 a month, you're not on that path yet. She has great resources for that, but the application helps her see very clearly who's on the path, who would benefit from speaking to me because the timing is right, and what I can give other people when the timing isn't right or they're not on the path. So I decided, because I love to speak to people, but it was getting a lot. I was hearing from a lot of people, can I talk to you about coaching? So how many months ago? 6 months ago, I created an application. And it has changed everything for me, Cindy, in that. And I think if we talk about the energy, and I'm trying to teach you all that you should consider it. If you're available to anyone at any level, at any time to speak with you, you are going to get so burnt out so quickly, and your impact is going to get diluted.
Yeah.
Some people are ready for the kind of change I talk about, and some are not. And some have the money to work privately or in the course, and some do not. And when they fill this out, they're already 10 steps away, 10 steps further, closer to a real connection where we're both going to benefit, that it's going to be fun and right.
It's a
So
plan.
it's a plan. So this funnel has changed everything.
Yeah.
So when you're talking planning, the way I interpret it is all of this, the tools that you are creating to do the one-on-one work, or whatever way you want to look at it, where you can have that qualitative discussion and really bring in the ideal client. Am I on the mark here?
100%. And it's funny. I love that you did this for your business, first of all. So I just want to give a little praise on that one, because
It was hard. It was a little hard. Like, I'm not going to speak to everyone, but
you know what you did? You gave yourself permission to run your own business. And this is something I talk about in my stories in the book too, is like, you have to give yourself permission to run your own business. And until you do that, your plan is someone else's plan.
Meaning, if you're not giving yourself permission to run your own business, you're actually slogging through every aspect of delivering the business, but you're not running it.
No,
You're
not at all.
Growing it. You're not focused on growth.
It's not strategic, it's tactical. You are, and it's that difference of having an application versus talking to everybody.
Oh
Talking
my
to everybody
gosh.
is very tactical. Yeah, you can help people. That's absolutely right. But you also have to get really clear on this is the message for the world. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to be good at, and this is how I'm going to help people, and this is how I'm going to show up every day. And in order to be in this circle, you got to go through this application process. You got to show me that you have a plan to work on your own life, to work on your own business, so that I can help you in this circle. And I just think I just got goosebumps. Like, I just think
Love
that's
that. I love the way
for
you
you.
told a story about that. And I think what it also does is, at the heart of what you're saying, know who you are and how you want to help. If you're trying to help every human being that comes your way, I think you're going to miss enormous opportunities for impact.
Entrepreneurs struggle with this in particular, and I know you run into this with your clients as
Right.
well, but it's revenue. I cannot tell you how many times a week one of them tells me, but it's revenue. I'm like, but it's not profitable revenue.
There
And
you
if you
go.
have a good plan
Ooh,
in place, you're going to know if it's profitable revenue. Yes, you can get revenue. Yes, I could go clean somebody's house. That's revenue. Is that the way I should be spending my time?
right,
Probably not,
right.
because it's not the core of my business. It's not the core of who I am. But unless you have that clear plan and that path to get there, I mean, it's like, shiny objects everywhere.
Oh, you're so right. So I'm aware of our time here, but have you leave us with the biggest thing you teach over and over that we haven't touched on. What is it? Is it a blind spot? Is it fear? What do we have to get over so that we really begin to love sales and not feel this dreaded, oh, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I want to close my eyes to it. What do we need to know, Cindy, that we haven't covered?
That you sell already. You're selling every day. You just don't call it that. If anybody listening to this is a parent and you've ever gotten a child to eat anything green, you're a salesperson. Like, just, trust me. If you're employed, you sold yourself, because that's a job interview. If you've ever gotten a raise, that's a sales conversation. So it's not this other thing that you do over here. Yes, there is that aspect of working on your business, but knowing that inherently you have it in you. You've done it your whole life. We were all 5 at one point, and 5-year-olds are literally like the best salespeople on the planet, I think.
Oh,
They will just wear you down, right? Like, they will just, can I have a cookie? Can I have a cookie? Like 20 times, and you're like, fine, eat the cookies, eat all of them. But that's what I want the listeners to take away, is that it's not a separate thing. Every job is a sales job, because you are selling every day. And what I teach is the process of that, where you have that plan, you look for those opportunities all around you, you listen to what others need, and that helps you to know how to ask or offer. And then it's the follow-up piece. And I just have to mention this one piece, because I know this is kind of where you and I come from. It's following up with gratitude. Whether the answer is yes or no, it does not matter. You follow up with gratitude. If that person didn't buy from you, that doesn't mean they won't buy from you 10 years from now or 10 minutes from now. It's the way that you leave them with the experience of that interaction with you, that they become a walking advertisement. And even if they didn't purchase anything. And so I'm a big gratitude person. I come from sort of that place of abundance. And I feel like if people can get over this ick factor of selling and embrace the fact that we're so lucky to do this every day as entrepreneurs. I mean, we are so lucky to get to wake up and do this. When you start from that place and you get clear on that plan, the rest of it does fall into place. It really does.
I love it. And so inspiring. It made me think of Maya Angelou's words. I'm going to butcher them, but people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And can I just, that was just too beautiful for what I'm about to do, which is a little snarky, but I'm going to do it. I'm looking on LinkedIn, the proliferation of, at this point, because I have 912,000 followers, the people I hear from are trying to have me book them now. This is the connections I get. And what bothers me is I'll get something like this. Have you ever thought of writing a book? And I have a book, and I've written 560 posts on Forbes. So I know that this is just you spamming me. You don't know if the first thing about me, you probably searched a search term. That's offensive to me, just because it took me a minute to read this, and you don't really want to connect. You just want me to buy you. Mm-hmm. That bothers me like there's no tomorrow. So why I want to say this is, to cultivate gratitude is also to cultivate what is necessary for great sales, a humanity, that it isn't all about the number and the quota. And if that's what you're trying to do, I don't know. I mean, I know some people that do, I got to get 100 sales calls done. Yuck. I don't know. I don't love that approach. So I think you have to be a person, people. You really do have to figure out, how does this make me feel purposeful?
Mhm.
How do I feel like I'm a giving entity in the world? What do you think? Am I just too woo-woo?
No, you're not woo-woo at all, my friend. I'm from California. No, I couldn't agree more on that. And I think that's where, and I hate to sound like a broken record, it's because that person didn't plan for the sale. They didn't do their homework on you. They're throwing,
Oh,
spaghetti at the wall and seeing who bites. That's not what this is about. And that's not the kind of sales I'm advocating. I never want people to sell that way, truthfully, because it doesn't work. It's so impersonal. I
so
think sales is such a personal thing
Hmm.
that I put my heart and soul into it. I want people to feel something through our transaction, whether they buy or not. And that's why that follow-up piece is so crucial. I want to make sure I mentioned it, because it's okay if you don't buy from me today. I'm actually okay with that. And you know what? I'm also going to pull back whatever my offering is if I don't think it's right for you, even if you want it.
Oh, of
I'll
course.
take it off the table because it's not right for you. I would rather you be a walking advertisement of truth and honesty of what my ethics brought to the table during our interaction than you buy something from me that's wrong.
Right. Because, if you're only going to think of this selfishly, the wrong client is hell for you, hell for them, and you don't get any business from that. So it's a bad move if you have to look at it from a business perspective. It's a bad move.
Yeah.
So let's leave with something uplifting. I think tap into your heart. This is a heart activity. This is not, let's go by the numbers. It's plan for, how do you make a connection that makes a difference, and how will that be rewarding back to you? That's the planfulness we're talking about. Am I right?
Absolutely. And I think if you can plan for what this is going to do for the other person, like put yourself in the client's shoes, what is the impact and the great story you want them to be able to tell from working with you? Start there. That will
That's
help you hone in your
beautiful.
message.
Write it out. These are the words you
Absolutely.
hope someone will say. Oh, it's so great. So where can we learn more? I'm looking at your gorgeous, your book right there. Every Job is a Sales Job. Which a great title. Tell us where we learn more, what we can get. Tell us everything.
It is super easy. You can go to drcindy.com, and that is
That's
where you
easy.
can get the book. You can, there are a lot of pre-launch specials going on right now, but there is a blog. There's a lot of information, and we're actually going to do a special download for your listeners,
Oh,
solo, just these
wonderful.
guys, so they can go in and
Fantastic.
put it in the show notes with the code,
Do that.
and it'll be us, Dr. Cindy / Finding Brave.
Oh, how
And
wonderful.
it's a planning document, believe it or not. So it's what we want them to have. So I want to make sure that your listeners can take what we've talked about today and actually do something with it. And I'd love to hear the success stories. I mean, find me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and tell me the success stories. There's nothing better than hearing that somebody took the stories that we shared with them today and actually made an impact in their own business. So
Oh,
I'm
how
so excited
wonderful.
to be a part
Thank
of
you.
it.
Thank you so much. And listen, folks, Cindy is an amazing speaker as well. So if you have an organization that needs to boost sales in an authentic, powerful way, really exponentially, can they reach out to you on your site as well?
Absolutely. They can actually just reach right out there if they wanted speaking, consulting. It's
Great. It's
super,
all
super
right
easy.
there. I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time. I can't wait to pour over every word of your book, and I know I'm already using it, So thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, folks, you got it. Now you know what sales is and what it isn't. So please do. We'd love to hear from you. How did you take any one of the tips from your book, from Cindy's amazing strategies here, and what, I'm a former therapist, so I love to know how it changes you from the inside first, and then what happens later. Will you let us know? We'd love to hear from you. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. See you next time, and thanks again, Cindy. Come back soon.
Thank you.